Hi friends, we are in Psalm 6 today. It's not a very long psalm. If you have your Bible, go ahead and open it up so you can read along. Let me get into this and read it as we get started, and then we'll walk through it a little bit slower. Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger. Do not discipline me in your wrath. Be gracious to me, Lord, for I am weak. Heal me, Lord, for my bones are shaking. My whole being is shaken with terror. And you, Lord, how long? Turn, Lord, rescue me. Save me because of your faithful love. For there is no remembrance of you in death. Who can thank you in Sheol, death? I am weary from my groaning, and with my tears I dampen my bed and drench my couch every night. My eyes are swollen from grief. They grow old because of all my enemies. Depart from me, all you evildoers. For the Lord has heard the sound of my weeping. The Lord has heard my plea for help. The Lord accepts my prayer. All my enemies will be ashamed and shaken with terror. They will turn back and suddenly be disgraced. Psalm 6 is a cry for mercy in a time of distress. We don't know exactly what is going on in David's life at this time. It is not tied to any particular event in his life. So we don't know what prompted him to write these words, but you can definitely hear that David is in a hard place. He opens with a cry for mercy in verses 1 through 3. Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger. Do not discipline me in your wrath. Our God is a loving Father, and that means sometimes He disciplines us as we may make wrong choices or disobey. He is a loving Father and is seeking to teach us and correct us. But even in that, it does not feel good. Whatever the situation was that led David to writing this psalm, he begins to cry out, Lord, rescue me. And then he tells us why God would do such a thing. Save me because of your faithful love. David continues to express exactly how he feels. There is such freedom in coming to God and just saying, God, this hurts. Whatever led to the situation, whether it was disobedience or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's just a hard part of life. There is freedom in coming to God and saying, God, this hurts. It is a prayer that I have been learning to make my own more and more. My heart often breaks for my children and the many things that they have to deal with because of their disabilities. I'll be really transparent here and tell you about a couple of recent events that have happened that have made me cry out, God, this hurts. There was a day I went and had lunch with Grace at school. And she's so fun and gets so excited. We sat at the table with her classmates, and these girls in her grade are so sweet with her. They always invite her to sit at their table and they talk with her. She was so excited to introduce me to her friends. She told me each of their names and told them who I was. They chatted with us for a minute, and then the girls went on chatting amongst each other. The conversation continued with the three of them, and I watched as Grace sat there, and she was happy and she smiled, but she got left behind. This was not a conversation that she could keep up with. She's not there. The difference between where Grace is and where the other girls of her age typically are is growing very quickly right now. I love my daughter very much for who she is, but it's still hard. And yes, this is something that is to be expected with her diagnosis, but it doesn't make it any easier. As I sat there and I listened to the girls chat just about whatever was going on in their life, I couldn't help but wonder what my daughter would be like if it wasn't for her disability. As I left, I got to the car and tears filled my eyes, and I just simply cried out, God, this hurts. It isn't fair. I want her to not be trapped by this disability, but it has its effects on her. God, it hurts. There was another situation where my son wanted to play basketball, so we found him a team that was really low-key and fun, got him all signed up, and he was so excited. And then we got to practice, and we walked in, and the anxiety took over. He froze. He could not participate in the practice, and he just sat there. He wanted to leave, but we did stay and watch the practice. I was hoping that he would get comfortable enough to participate, but he never did. We did that a couple of times, and then came the first game. When we arrived, we started to go up, and he could not even get himself to walk into the gym. He just froze, and there was nothing I could do to even get him to watch the game. We tried for quite a while, but it was enough. He begged to go home, and I finally consented. We left. He was actually even sick the next day because the anxiety had gotten to him so badly. As his mom, my heart just breaks. The anxiety had stolen this from him. He is just an 8-year-old little boy who wanted to play basketball. But because of the anxiety that he deals with, he is not able to. I cry out once again, God, this hurts. But by crying out to God, I lay every piece of my broken heart at his feet, and I invite him into the situation. He meets me here and comforts my heart like none other. I cling to the promise that he will use all things for good. I cannot see it today. Today it just hurts, but I believe this with all of my heart. Toward the last part of this psalm, David warns his enemies, "Depart from me, ye all evildoers, for the Lord has heard the sound of my weeping. The Lord has heard my plea for help." God accepts my prayer. Then he tells of how the Lord is going to fight for him. Do you hear how close God is, though? He has heard my crying, and he has heard my weeping. He has heard my plea for help. He not only hears our prayers, but he accepts them. When no one else is around, he hears the prayers of my heart. When I cry out, God, this hurts, he hears the prayers that I have no words for. Not only does he hear these prayers, he accepts them, and he comforts my broken heart as I invite him in. Then he brings me a peace that I cannot explain. It is indescribable, and I can only say that it is his peace. So as I read this psalm, I am reminded to cry out to God, to bring him everything that hurts you, and He will hear you, and He will draw near.